Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely fascinating and honestly pretty hard-hitting documentary called The Plastic Lie. We're going to explore exactly how the most convenient material ever invented quietly morphed into a permanent global crisis. So we'll be mapping out the history, the science, and the economics behind this everyday material. Okay, let's just dive right into a disturbing reality. Right now, as you're listening to this, there are tiny pieces of plastic inside your blood, your lungs, and quite possibly, your brain. And no, this isn't because of some mistake you made. It's actually the result of a series of very deliberate decisions made by a handful of companies nearly 70 years ago. Chapter 1. The Miracle Material. To figure out how we actually got to a place where plastic is literally everywhere, we kind of have to go back to the start. The story kicks off in 1907 with a chemist named Leo Baekeland. He invented bakelite, which was the very first synthetic plastic, mostly just trying to find a cheap insulator for wires. From there, things escalated massively during World War II, because plastic was a total wartime necessity for stuff like nylon parachutes and airplane windows. But the real turning point, that hits in 1955. Life magazine ran this big feature called Throwaway Living. It openly celebrated the fact that families could just chuck their plates in the trash instead of washing them. It was a completely manufactured habit, the deliberate creation of single-use convenience.
Now, what's truly staggering is the sheer scale of what happened next. Back in 1950, global plastic production sat at about 2 million tons. Today, it's over 460 million tons. To put that into perspective, that is a 200-fold increase in essentially a single human lifetime. It makes plastic the fastest-growing material in the history of human manufacturing. And of course, as production absolutely skyrocketed, the waste did too.
Chapter 2. The Recycling Myth. So, you know those 3 chasing arrows on the bottom of a plastic bottle, right? We all just naturally assume it means the item is recyclable. But internal documents uncovered by journalists reveal a very different story. Industry insiders privately admitted decades ago that recycling plastic at a massive scale was never economically realistic. Yet they actively pushed that recycling symbol to the public anyway, mostly to prevent lawmakers from passing bans on plastic production. So why was recycling at scale never going to work? Well, think of it like a giant puzzle. Step 1. There isn't just one type of plastic out there. There are dozens of chemically distinct types. Step 2. They all get mixed up together in the bin, and sorting them out by hand is incredibly slow and wildly expensive. Step 3. You usually can't even melt different types down together. And the final nail on the coffin, Step 4, creating brand new virgin plastic straight from oil is almost always cheaper than recycling old plastic. So, economically speaking, most companies just don't even bother. And that leads us to this absolute stark reality. Of all the plastic ever created in human history, only a tiny 9% slice has actually been recycled. It's a staggering figure, right? And it immediately forces us to ask, where exactly did the other 91% go? Chapter 3. Where it actually goes. While the vast majority of that waste sits packed away in landfills or just goes up in smoke through burning, a highly dangerous portion escapes right into our environment. When we think of ocean plastic, we usually picture the Great Pacific Garbage Patch as this giant, solid floating island you could literally walk on, but the reality is far more unsettling. It's an area roughly 3 times the size of France, sure, but it's really a drifting fog of fragments. Many of them are too small to even see from the deck of a boat.
And the reason it's a fog is actually pretty simple. Plastic doesn't truly biodegrade. It doesn't break down into natural elements and return to the earth. Instead, it continually splinters and shrinks into microplastics, fragments thinner than a human hair. And because they get so incredibly microscopic, it sets the stage for a much more personal biological impact.
Chapter 4. It's inside us now. This brings the crisis directly into our own bodies. The science on this is moving incredibly fast right now, and it is pretty alarming. Just look at the recent discoveries. In 2022, microplastics were detected in human blood for the very first time. Shortly after that, they were found in the placenta, in breast milk, and in testicular tissue. And as recently as 2024, they've been identified in human brain samples. So it's no longer just an issue for ocean life, it's an undeniable internal reality for us too. Now, researchers are definitely still catching up on what the long-term effects are, things like inflammation or hormone disruption. But the inescapable fact is this. 50 years ago, literally none of this was inside human bodies. Now, it is universally present. We are talking about a massive, rapid biological change.
So if we know the damage being done to the environment and to our own biology, the obvious next question is, why haven't we stopped producing the stuff?
Chapter 5. Why we can't quit.
To be completely fair here, plastic isn't just pure evil. It has genuine benefits that are totally baked into modern survival. It keeps medical equipment sterile, which saves lives. It makes cars lighter, which actually cuts down on fuel emissions. It keeps food fresh longer, severely reducing global food waste. And, importantly, it is often the cheapest, most budget-friendly option for consumers at the grocery store. So it's really not just a matter of people being lazy.
But there is a massive systemic and economic driver keeping production high. As the global demand for fuel starts to slow down, with the rise of electric vehicles and green energy, oil and gas companies are pivoting. Since plastic is made from fossil fuels, it's essentially the industry's backup plan. Because of this, industry forecasts actually expect plastic production to nearly triple by the year 2060.
Chapter 6. What's actually working?
Now, despite global treaties continually stalling out, we aren't completely without hope. There are real solutions currently being tested and implemented all over the world. On the policy side of things, countries using deposit return schemes are recovering over 90% of their containers. There are also extended producer responsibility laws, which basically force companies to pay for the cleanup of their own packaging. And then, there is the incredibly cool biological innovation happening. We're seeing packaging grown from mushrooms, seaweed films that literally dissolve in water, and enzymes engineered to eat certain plastics in days rather than centuries.
Yet we do need a reality check here. The technology to fix this exists in pieces for sure. But one person recycling perfectly in their kitchen cannot possibly offset a massive factory churning out tons of virgin plastic every single minute. The innovation is totally there. What is fundamentally missing is the systemic policy to make these solutions the standard rather than the exception.
Chapter 7. The real question.
And this leads us directly to the ultimate question. Since we were sold this crisis, one convenient disposable item at a time, what's our next move? Will we demand and implement the global policies actually needed to cap plastic production at the source? Or are we destined to just endlessly treat the symptoms, trying to clean up a flood while the faucet is still running wide open? It's a fascinating look at the hidden cost of our modern world.